Good morning. Thank you, Gretchen. I will now convene the Board Caucus meeting for Tuesday, August 26th. First on the agenda is a approval of minute meetings. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the minute meetings as listed on the agenda this morning.
This is Ollie. I move that we approve the meeting minutes as listed on the agenda.
Thank you, Board Member Garrett, and I second that, so that is approved. And just as a reminder, Board Member Holmes was not present for some of these, which is why he's abstaining. All right, we're going to move right along here and go right to our research team who's going to provide us an update on hemp-derived THC products. And so I'll turn it over to Sarah and Nick. And it looks like we've also got colleagues from education and enforcement and education with us this morning. So welcome Matt and Kendra to the meeting as well.
Hello. Hi, Chair Vollendroff and members Garrett and Holmes. Wonderful to be here today. Let me share my screen. Is everybody able to see that?
Yes.
I see a thumbs up. Wonderful. Okay, so today we have a presentation on hemp-derived THC products. And as you mentioned, Chair Vollendroff, we are going to do a brief presentation doing a brief introduction on hemp-derived THC products, and then we're going to hand it over to our wonderful captains, Captain Matt Murphy and Captain Kendra Tinnerstedt, to provide us a little bit more insight and expertise on education and enforcement of what they're seeing within their division. We are bringing this topic to you because there is continued conversation about hemp-derived THC products at a national level, and it's a discussion topic across several of our partners, both public health partners and our cannabis community. And I've had many conversations with all of you as well. So Chair Vollendroff, I know we've talked about the limited age verification processes that can be found online with many of these products. Member Holmes, I know that we've talked about the economics of hemp-derived products, and Member Garrett, given your dedication to small businesses, this is a particularly relevant topic for you too, as this continues to play a role, even if peripherally right now for Washington State among the larger national landscape of cannabis businesses and these hemp-derived THC businesses too. So when I say hemp-derived THC products, when I say that, I am specifically referring to products that are derived from hemp as defined by the 2018 Farm Bill. So hemp plants or plant parts that are less than that 0.3% Delta-9 THC by dry weight, but contain detectable levels of THC and is illegal to sell in Washington State outside of regulated cannabis retail stores. So in 2023, we enacted and engrossed second substitute Senate Bill 5367, making it illegal to sell any product with detectable levels of THC, including Delta-8 THC, Delta-10 THC, and other THC analogs outside of the I-502 legal cannabis market. So this, and there's, I should say again, on this national scale, there's lots of conversations that are happening, and so there's lots of conversation. Originally, this 2018 Farm Bill really is focused on this Delta-9, but there's a lot of THC analogs apart from Delta-9. A lot of research has focused on delta-9 THC, but there's a lot of isomers and derivatives outside of delta-9, including what Washington State has in 2023 has banned, including delta-8 and delta-10 and other derivatives. In general, our research knowledge and our consumer knowledge about other THC analogs are pretty limited. So this screen shows survey results from our International Cannabis Policy Study, which we collaborate with the University of Waterloo. And this shows what people endorse they've been using. You can see to the left what people report for past 12-month cannabis use, and to the right what they report past month ever use. Waterloo indicates reports these THC analogs as novel product use. In general, you can see that people endorse past 12-month cannabis use as much higher than these novel product use or these THC analog use. So for Washington, people say in past 12 months, they report 43% of people report using cannabis in the past 12 months. Relative for delta-8, 10% of Washington people, Washingtonians, said that they have used delta-8 ever in their lifetime. In general, these novel or THC analogs have a higher prevalence in states where cannabis is illegal and a lower prevalence in states where cannabis is legal. There are a couple of caveats here that make this more confusing, and I'll shine a couple of lights on those. The first light that'll make things a little bit confusing. Between 77, depending on what you're asking people on, between 77 and 87% of people report including these novel products when reporting about their cannabis use. So in general, survey instruments are conflating these novel THC analogs when we're also asking them about their cannabis use. So that's a pretty big limitation when we're gathering information about cannabis use. People are generally not sure when we're saying cannabis use or when we're asking delta-8 or HHC or THCO. People are generally just thinking all of these things as one big mix and conglomerate. And it makes sense because this is pretty confusing and complicated. The second thing, yes, Chair Vondra.
Can I ask a quick question? Was it all right now? So I was just quickly wondering, are the intoxicating effects of these novel products identical or similar to cannabis that's sold in the retail market?
So that's a great question. We need more research. There is it doesn't, of the research that's out there, it seems like there are some differences. Some indicate that there are less effects of so delta-8 is the most researched. And there is some research, and I'm emphasizing some research indicates that there are less positive effects relative to the cannabis that is sold in legal retail stores, less positive effects. However, there are a lot of limitations to those because a lot of the Delta 8 that's sold, we don't really know what's in those, so there's less regulations on there. There's not any really controlled trials. I mean, it's mostly like in general, how do those feel versus in general, how does cannabis sold in retail stores feel? And also, most people are conflating those products. So a lot more research needs to be done.
Okay, thank you. I see that member Holmes has a question.
What do you
Yes.
mean by positive effects? You mean any psychoactive effect or just, an unpleasant experience?
Yes, so in general, when researchers start studying subjective effects of drugs, it starts by most researchers will start by saying general positive effects, general negative effects, and then they'll start to narrow in by start asking about paranoia or general, yeah, like happiness, elatedness, like high arousal, like giddiness or excitement or feeling sleepy or tired. So then they'll start narrowing in, and we have nowhere near that for these other types of analog THC analogs. And Nick, anything to add to this?
Yeah, so yeah, member Holmes, to your question, yeah, it seems like people are rating it as like slightly less enjoyable, maybe is how I would put it, with less positive. And then I think another thing just to add to the effects is they tend to be marketed differently. Like Delta 8 is sometimes marketed as like THC light. So that could also create some sort of expectancy effect, which is also affecting how people perceive the effects of it. So there, like Sarah said, there's really not enough rigorous research out there. It's a lot of anecdotal reports is what we have saying that they may feel a little different, but at the end of the day, we're really not sure yet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the second confusing aspect to this is this THCA. It is almost everyone who has used cannabis flower has actually used THCA. And that's because all raw cannabis flower naturally contains THCA. In fact, THCA is a non-psychoactive precursor to delta 9 THC. And that's why I don't think anybody would actually want to eat dried flower, but if you were to eat dried flower, you wouldn't experience the effects. You have to combust or heat up vaporized dried flower in order for you to experience the effects. And if you were to pull any of our COAs or certificate of analysis, you would see that most that our THCAs are higher than our delta 9 because, again, all dried flower has more THCA than delta 9 in its dried natural form. And again, this right here, this gets marketed and this is a loophole. So I just want to come back to this. So hold on to this here in a minute.
Quick
Yes.
question. Just can you remind me, did 5367 just address Delta 8 or did it address all novel products? I can't recall.
All detectable THC. So
Okay.
So all THC
Thank you.
analogs and okay, so different states have done different have done different policies to address these this 2018 Farm Bill. In general, the Southeast has had more legal or permissive restrictions related to these hemp-derived THC products relative to other states. And you can see here up in Washington, we've said no, illegal. I want to provide some examples of some hemp-derived THC products because a lot of them are coming from online. And so when we were talking with, and I'll let you ask your question, Member Holmes, a lot of what our concern is and what we've been hearing from public health and from the cannabis community relates to what the economics and what's been going on from the Southeast or from these online businesses as it relates to shipping or online shipping coming into Washington, or potentially as rescheduling or descheduling happens in the future, right? Not right now, but just as we're looking out into the future, what does that potentially mean for our businesses or for down the road, or for our youth if there's minimal age verification, you can click, yes, I'm over 21, even if you're not over 21. Yes, Member Holmes.
So in other words, you're saying that legal in predominantly the Southeast does include age restrictions, legal if you're 21, or does that depend on the state?
Yes, it's very state dependent.
Do some have no age restrictions?
I do believe that most do have age restrictions. And Nick, maybe I know that you went to the talk last week. I'm not sure if you have any insights on that.
Yeah, my understanding is that most have an age restriction, but some of them are maybe still in the works. So it's my understanding that not all states have a current law saying that you have to be 21 or older to purchase these products.
One quick follow-up. Do you have any data that indicates what the common understanding is among voters about the fact that some of this, the pot, frankly, that you can buy online as hemp really is just, your grandfather's pot. And they're just lulled by the hemp label as opposed to understanding that it is straight up, something to put in your pipe and smoke.
I'm not sure if we have any data on that, but we can look into it. I do think that the perception is a key. Perception and knowledge is very much needed. Yeah. So before we hand it over to our captains, I do want to just provide a few examples of what we're seeing. I've blurred out the brand, but just for context here. These were very easy to find. So 3 examples. One is a beverage brand. So this one is a beverage lemonade iced tea brand. It says age 21 plus, adult use consumable hemp product. Contains not more than 0.3% total Delta-9 THC, including precursors by weight. The total THC is 10 milligrams per unit. The second one is a gummy Delta-9 THC gummy. Again, has less than 0.3% THC, the federally legal limit for industrial hemp plant. And then the third one is that THCA flower. All products are derived from hemp, contain less than 0.3% Delta 9 THC in accordance with the 2018 Farm Bill. And again, going back to what I showed you with that COA looks very, very similar to that THCA COA, where it looks pretty similar because it's not that Delta 9. It would be Delta 9 if you combusted it. Oregon earlier this year purchased a lot of online in-store hemp products to see if they did actually was different. And they did find that all 51 samples of the hemp flower that they purchased exceeded the 0.3 total THC and was what would be prohibited for sale and ranged from 0.4% to 30.5% total THC. So really confirmed that a lot of these products that are marketed online are surpassing the limit of what would be what is marketed and again what is past the limit, particularly what is considered a total THC. Yes, Chair Ballendrop.
Do you know, I'm just looking at the title of the report, do you know anything about the pesticides that they may have found or any other lab testing?
I wish that Tyler was here, as he is, as he definitely looked through this, and we can get back to you on that.
Okay, if you could get me a copy of the report too, that'd be great.
Definitely.
Thank you.
So before I hand it off to our captains, just to wrap up, in general, what we've heard, that this really just spans across a lot of partners, and I really just think this is. I don't think that public health and safety and legal cannabis businesses are distinct. I think there's a lot of overlap, and I think this is one area that this really speaks to this overlap. And with health and safety, there's further research that shows there's inaccurate labels, accessibility to minors with limited age verification, unknown health effects, and difficulties in enforcement, with which Captain Murphy and Captain Tinnerstedt will speak to. And then with legal cannabis businesses, increased competition, whether that's now or in the future, or if people are purchasing online. Different regulatory playing fields, and then a threat to consumer trust, particularly if people don't know whether a hemp product is different from cannabis products, and if they're then have an adverse reaction, or if their pesticides, for example, are different than what we mandate. So with that, I will hand it over to Captain Murphy and Captain Tinnerstedt.
I think you're muted, Matt.
Can't hear you, Matt.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good. Welcome.
Thank you, Board Chair Vollendroff and board members for having us here today. Are you, Dr. Oki, are you going to present the slides for us? There we go. So we put together this slide presentation, but I first want to kind of put a shout out to our legislators and our rules team for making this a little bit easier for us. Because we have that detectable levels of THC in our state, it becomes a lot easier to educate and frankly enforce the requirements. I don't know if anybody recalls some of the issues our state had with bath salts and things like that about 10 or 15 years ago, and it was very difficult for rules and laws to keep up with the ever-changing market. And so this became a lot easier last year when they changed it to detectable levels of THC. So here today we have prevalence and current issues. It is definitely becoming more prevalent in our state. We are starting to get more complaints from the industry and more complaints from parents, and just more general complaints about online THC products. And of course, our concern is youth access. We have stories of parents, of guardians that contact us and say that their kids have gotten sick and actually spent time in the hospital over consuming some of the products. So that's obviously on the a concern for us. Industry is driving action. Of course, the industry members concerned about out of state taking over their business. In our state, we don't have direct to home allowances. So, if somebody can just go online and order a THC product and get it shipped directly to their house without paying state sales tax, without paying excise tax, that would obviously be a big concern. And then the other thing that kind of was discussed earlier is a majority of states around our country do have products with 0.3 THC, which becomes very difficult because it's allowed in their state, but it's not allowed in our state. So it becomes a challenge on, educating that local jurisdiction for what our rules in Washington State are. Next slide. So investigations and actions taken. We have made attempts to purchase some of the products online. We do have the ability to purchase in an undercover capacity, which makes it nice. However, that's just one step. We do have the ability to write cease and desist letters to the businesses. And we do contact local jurisdictions, whether that's the equivalent of the State Liquor and Cannabis Board, whether that's the local law enforcement agency in that area, or it's just the state law enforcement department. So we do contact on a lot of these, the local jurisdiction, and notify them and see if they have any interest in assisting with us. So challenges. This has definitely been a big challenge for us, being fairly new, a new issue. We frankly are already in our state over capacity in our enforcement efforts, dealing with our licensed premises in our state. So Captain Tinnerstadt and I have taken on this challenge pretty much ourselves to alleviate some of those our resource issues with our teams. So Captain Tinnerstadt and I are the ones that do a lot of the research on these companies and draft a lot of the cease and desist letters and contacting the local law enforcement agencies. Ability to get prosecution. That's obviously a big issue because we only have jurisdiction in our state, in Washington State. And so getting the local jurisdiction to agree to do something about it, that's obviously a big challenge. And even more difficult is if we're dealing with something that's out of country. We even had one business say, frankly, challenge him to find him. And so dealing with somebody that's not even in our country, that's in Mexico, that's in Canada, or even, somewhere outside of our continent, would be obviously a lot more challenging to try and deal with. Time, investigating complaints can be challenging. Our enforcement division typically has a 60-day complaint investigation that we like to try and maintain. However, a lot of these investigations do take a little bit longer than 60 days. If we're researching, if we're sending cease and desist letters, if we're sending products, things like that do take a lot of time. attempt to purchase, like I said, we have to coordinate where we're shipping this product. We have to make sure we're, not breaking the laws, frankly, ourselves. Because that's been obviously a concern too, that we don't, we want to be transparent with what we're doing, and we don't want to, violate any sort of federal law as well. And waiting for product. Cease and desist letters can easily be ignored. There are those locations that we've sent these letters to, and not even made any contact with us. We do hope that does have an impact in just having that letter. However, like the one person we contacted that said, go ahead and find me. So that can be a pretty big challenge in itself. We're on to questions.
I have a couple of questions. You mentioned hospitalizations, that you've heard of situations. Do you know, Matt, if those were a direct result of overconsumption of one of these products, or was it ingredient involved? I mean, like, I'm assuming, like, if I'm getting product from out of country, I have no idea what's actually in it. So I'm just wondering about the hospitalizations.
So the one that I had, it was a grandparent who called, and her two granddaughters overconsumed.
Okay, thank you. I also was wondering about online versus in-store. So it sounds like what you're seeing mostly is online. What about in-store? Are we seeing this I've heard at least at one point that you could go into many stores, mini marts, gas stations, or whatever, and this product was also for sale there. Are we still seeing it in those locations, or did the law that was passed put a halt to that?
No, we're definitely still seeing it, and frankly, those ones are a lot easier for us to address because it's in our state. A lot of them are in our licensed location, whether it's a liquor license location, a tobacco license location. So those ones are a lot easier to address. We know where those locations are. It's just that the out-of-state ones that are a lot more challenging to deal with.
Okay, and then my final question has to do with age verification. Are we seeing these products be age restricted still in Washington State, even though they're illegal, or are they selling them to anybody because they're not a regulated product?
I'd have to go back and look at some of those to see whether or not they had some sort of restriction. But typically, if we, receive a complaint on a THC product that has detectable levels of THC not sold in our retail stores, it's a pretty easy one for us to contact the licensed premise or the business and notify them of the legalities. And for the most part, everybody has been pretty cooperative in our state because they understand that it is potentially a felony in our state to sell cannabis without a license.
Thank you. Member Holmes?
Captain, do you have any hint of federal enforcement, border interdiction, either against carriers, UPS, FedEx, if they're transporting across state lines, these products? I just wonder what, if any, enforcement are you seeing at the federal level?
We have a lot of good partners with the United States Postal Service. And so they do contact us a lot of time. However, a lot of their contacts are for easily recognizable products. So products that have a strong scent of cannabis. And so, some of these products, have no scent whatsoever. And so that becomes, a harder challenge in itself because they could label a box, whatever they really wanted to. So, but we do get a lot of contacts from UPS, from the Postal Service, from their investigators. So making those contacts was pretty important early on.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Captain.
Thank you, board members.
Sarah, are we moving along? What are we doing?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. We recognize that this is not a, oh, this, oh, we have a solution, or this is a one fix deal, but we wanted to have a discussion, and we figured this was a good space to have a check-in about this. So thank you so much, and thank you, Captain Murphy and Captain Tinnerstedt and Chief Grant as well, for allowing us to come and have this discussion. And we'll follow up with the Clean Leaf report as well. And we'll also follow up. I wonder if I'm just thinking too, and I know we're out of time. We'll also see if there's any information from our Washington Poison Center database about information on hemp-derived poisonings as well. That might be information interesting to look up.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Member Holmes, go ahead.
Sorry, just a quick comment. I've been tracking what's going on with the 2026 agriculture reauthorization or reappropriations bill, and I know that they're supposedly going after the loophole and some of the litigation as well. I saw that Virginia was standing out as one of the Southeast states that has restricted hemp products, and I know that it survived a challenge in the Fourth Circuit, and so that all bodes well.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you. Well, thank you all for your presentation and for your participation today. I'm especially happy to see our enforcement and education team here working closely with our research team on such an important issue. I think that we want to stay engaged in some alternative actions that potentially could take place that would reduce the presence of these products here in Washington State. And I have, from conversations with industry and prevention, as has been mentioned, think this is an example of an opportunity for us to work cross collaboratively around ways to reduce the prevalence of these products in the regulatory and outside the regulatory market. And just as an aside, it's not for me personally, I'm only speaking as one board member, I have as much concern about these products as I do other unregulated products that are out there in the market that I hear about, see when I go into retailers or gas stations, et cetera, that I have concerns about. So I just want to continue to keep that on the forefront and look at that as an opportunity to partner with prevention and industry around ways to make this better. And for many reasons, health and safety, the taxes, just a number of reasons why that's important. So again, thank you. Appreciate everybody's participation today. Any other questions or comments from board members? All right, thank you. Let's see, we are at our last agenda item, which is board member and executive assistant reports. Anything from board members to report today?
Just looking forward to my relaunch of the Alcohol Advisory Council tomorrow, and grateful for Gretchen's help in particular. So I will see you both there.
Great, thank you. And Member Garrett, I will say on your behalf, not on your behalf, but I will acknowledge the Cannabis Advisory Council meeting that you just recently hosted, and just want to commend you for the exemplary job that you did leading that particular meeting. So thank you very much.
Amen.
Thank you.
All right. Well, anything from Gretchen or Deb?
Nothing today, Chair Valandroff. Thank you.
All right, well, that concludes our meeting. So I will now adjourn the board caucus meeting for Tuesday, August 26th. Thank you, everybody.